Transform a simple toilet paper roll into a stunning Deathly Hallows themed candle, perfect for any Harry Potter fan. Let's open up Cricut Design Space. First, let's go to Shapes and select the rectangle. We're going to resize this. So you can hit the unlock button, and then we're going to make it 10 inches wide by 4 inches tall. I prefer to design with a lighter color, but you can select the color for your design here. Go back to Shapes and select Line. We're going to adjust this height to be the same height as our project, 4 inches tall, which is also the same height as my toilet paper roll. Select both layers, go over to Align, and click Align Bottom. Then go over to the X-axis and type in 0.6 inches. Then select both layers and click Attach. Right-click to rename this layer, and I'm just going to name it Rectangle so I know which one we're working with. Now it's time to work on the circles, so I'm moving this out of the way. Go over to Shapes and select Circle. With the circle highlighted, we're going to resize it to 2.9 inches. Since this is the first time I'm making this, I wanted to give myself a little bit of wiggle room for my candle. Change the color to match your project, and then go over to the Offset button, and we're going to create a 0.5 inch offset, and click Apply. Then change the color to match your project again, and go over to the Layers bar to select the inner circle. We're going to go to Operations and change it to be a score line. Then select both layers, go over to the Line button, click Center, and then click Attach. Then right-click to rename this layer Circle, or whatever you wish. Now let's focus on the circle. Let's hide the rectangle for now and zoom in. Now to make a bunch of cut lines. If you know of a faster way to do this, please share it in the comments. Otherwise, bear with me. It does get easier and faster as we go along. Now let's go to Shapes and select the line. Change the height to 0.6 inches. I wanted it to be slightly longer than the 0.5 offset to make sure that we really do cut through all the way. Select the score line, go over to Operations, and we're going to change it to Basic Cut. An optional step to help laying out is to change your circle to a whole number laying on the grid. It's not necessary. Position your line roughly the center of the circle, just touching the score line. We're definitely going to need to zoom in for this and use any minor adjustments with your Y or X axis. With the line selected, we're going to duplicate it. Now place the line on the exact opposite side, with the top part just touching that score line. With the bottom line selected, use the X and Y axis if needed to adjust it. Now select both lines and go over to Align button and select Center horizontally. Then click Attach. Right-click on the layer to rename it. I'm just going to call it Lines. Then duplicate the line. Go over to Rotate and type in 90 degrees. Place it as close to center as possible. Then click your vertical line and the circle layer. Go over to the Align button and click Center. Then I want to just drag that vertical line into the circle attachment. Now select the circle and your horizontal line, go over to Line and click Center. You could probably have done this all at once, but I was just doing things one at a time because this was all new for me. Then add the horizontal line to the attached circle group. With the horizontal line selected, we're going to duplicate it. Then with the new line and your circle group, with both layers selected, go over to Align and click Center. Your new line, we're going to rotate it 45 degrees. Then add that line to your circle group. Have that 45-degree line selected, and we're gonna duplicate that one. Again, select the 2 layers, go over to align and center them. But just select that new 45 and we're gonna flip it horizontally. And for my safety check, select the 2 layers and align center. Add that new line to the circle group. Here's where it gets a little faster. We're going to add all those 4 lines into one attachment. Now select that new attached line group and we're going to duplicate. Then select those 2 layers and click align and center. Now with just the new layer we created selected, go over to rotate, and I set it to 0 first to make sure everything was working well, and then I just changed it to 15 degrees. Now we can add that line attachment to the other line attachment in the circle group and duplicate. Select both of the layers, go over to align and click center. Then just click that new line group and we're gonna rotate it 30 degrees. Just drag that new line group into the attached line group as well. And for safety, one last time, I highlighted everything, went over to align and click center. Now let's just go over to shapes. Click circle because we need to create the small cutout for your LED candle flame. Mine measured 0.36 inches. So then select the circle and just your circle layer. Go over to align and click center and then click the slice button. Drag your main circle cutout into your attached group and then you can delete the excess. Now let's unhide the rectangle, zoom out, and hide the circle. The great thing is that the basic pillar is done and we can get to designing it. This step is limitless to your creativity and the materials you would like to add to embellish it even more. I'm keeping this design very simple with drawings from a glitter gel pen. It's time to start designing your pillar candle. Click your upload button. I previously added the Deathly Hallows SVG into Cricut Design Space, and we're going to resize it to a height of 2 inches. Then we're going to change the operation to draw, click pen, and the pen type to glitter gel pen, and the color to gold. Since I have this extra space over here, I'm going to go to shapes and select a rectangle layer just to use to help us to design. We're going to resize it to 9.4 inches in width and 4 inches tall. Then select both rectangles, go over to align, click align bottom, and click align right. Drag your SVG to the top and then drag the rectangle and add it to your rectangle attachment group. Right click and rename the new rectangle align, because that's what we're primarily using it for, just to align the design. Select the 2 layers, go over to align and click center. Now you can drag the SVG into the rectangle group. Then go over to text box. We're gonna type together they make 1. And we're gonna resize that to 45. And we're going to change the operation to draw, select pen, select gel pen, and click the color gold. Then select text and change the font. Select your Harry Potter font. It's a free font I uploaded. The link is in the description. Now place your text, select the align rectangle, then go over to the align button and click center horizontally. With just the text selected, go over to the curve button and type 79. I also wanted to make the overall look a little bit smaller. I decided to decrease the line spacing. My only issue was I wasn't too fond of the E and the Y connecting here, but I accepted the look. Duplicate the text, then go to curve and reset it to 0. Then place your text in the desired spot and type Master of Death. Then let's reset the line spacing to 0 and resize it to 50. Select the align rectangle and go over to align and click center horizontally. Now you can add the text to the rectangle group and use the X and Y axis for any minor adjustments. And a reminder to hide the align rectangle because we don't need that for the cutting process. It's time to unhide the circle, and I'm going to duplicate each one because I'm making a pair of pillar candles. Then go over to make it. I am changing my paper setting to letter and readjusting how my cuts work on the mat. I like to save as much paper as possible, so I try to combine as much as I can onto one sheet. This is completely optional. Click continue and then select the material you are using. Also take note which tools need to be loaded into the Cricut machine first and see what's coming up next. Lay your cardstock down and use a brayer or a scraper to make it flat. Then load the scoring tool, and I did forget to load the gel pen. Load both those tools in first and hit start. Then change your tool to the fine point blade and press the Cricut button. When weeding, just flip the mat over and roll it back. This helps keep your project flat. Then easily take out the 3 parts and don't forget about that center circle. Take the top circle and fold all the flaps down. We will use these flaps to glue the top of the candle to the side of the pillar. I like to pre-roll the side just to help give it some shape to make it easier to glue it to the circle. Make sure you do not fully bend where the score line is on this piece. It's just to act as a guide of where we will be gluing the 2 parts together. Identify the top of the rectangle that you want to glue to the circle and place a string of glue right along the very top. Then carefully wrap the rectangle around the circle and also down the side of the rectangle. This part can be a little bit messy, and I use a sewing clip just to help hold some of it in place. Yeah, just keep pressing it down. I also tried flipping it over and pressing all the flaps towards the exterior to make it adhere better. For the second one, I tried using double-sided tape just for the side of the rectangle to help hold all the glue together. I was giving it a shot. I also tried flipping it upside down first to connect everything. I think it worked out a little bit better. I just accidentally glued the top part of the double-sided tape, so that part didn't stick well. Feel free to share any tips of how you would glue this together. I absolutely love upcycling, and it's great that we can use these toilet paper rolls as the main structure for the candle. One of them we're gonna cut into about 1/2-inch strips so it can be the support of the other 2 candles. Cut the loops out so they're flat, and then use your LED candle as a guide. I'm gonna center it so both sides are equal and then fold it down to each side of the candle. There are 2 ways you can glue this onto the toilet paper roll. You can have the flaps over, but I'm gonna glue it where the flaps are inside the tube. You will repeat the same steps for the other cardboard strip. Take your glue and squeeze it right into the flap. You can also use a sewing clip to help hold it in place. All you need is a little bit of glue. If you're going to glue it with the flaps out, you would use the sewing clip to pin the cardboard onto the toilet paper roll. If you have more patience than me, I would let those dry for 10 minutes. But otherwise, just glue the backs and then place it inside the toilet paper roll. Now use the clip to secure it to the roll and hold it in place. Make sure the cardboard lines up with the top of the toilet paper roll. And just repeat the steps for the other roll. You can also test and make sure your LED candle fits before it completely dries. And also double check that it's level within the roll itself. My left one was slightly off center, so I actually had to rip the side off and re-glue it to make sure that it was sitting straight inside the tube. Now that everything's dry, all you have to do is slide the pillar candle over, and of course turn it on before you slip it over if you want to enjoy the light now. These Deathly Hallows candles create the perfect atmosphere for my console table, making my Harry Potter Halloween truly magical.